representing the business community from just down the street. Joe Peatman Jr. Joe.
Good afternoon. My store goes in hand with my business. I'm a brewer. We make beer and we serve visitors and locals to the Napa Valley. It's always been a place here at 902 Main Street. Brewing beer is not new to Napa, although Napa's last 40 years has been devoted to the wine business. Beer making and consuming has been going on in Napa for 150 years. They discovered gold in California. San Francisco population was just exploding. People were coming by wagon train and boats, mostly men, and there became a great demand for beer. But the climate in San Francisco was no good for growing wheat and barley. It was just too foggy and cold. But you could look from San Francisco out to the hills to the north, and you could see these beautiful golden brown hills. And because there was nothing but the bay and marshland between San Francisco and Napa. So the beer makers got in boats and started moving north until they got up into the Napa River, and they rode up and got as far north as they could before they got out of their boats and started looking for the right soil climate for growing two-row barley and wheat. And they found it here. A gentleman came from Saratoga, New York. His name was Edmund Churchill. He became a bank teller at the Goodman Bank here in Napa back in the 1860s. And he ended up owning that bank and selling that bank to the Bank of Italy later, which later became the Bank of America, and some of the roots of that bank and that business started here in Napa. In Napa, there was a banker named Edward Churchill who saw that there could be some money made warehousing barley and wheat for the breweries in San Francisco. So he bought a warehouse on the river and started warehousing the barley and wheat to make beer and barging it down. Well, after about 10 years of doing this, he realized I could just be making the beer myself and sending it down as a finished product and making more money than just making it, giving the ingredients to somebody else. One day he met Mr. George Blaufus Sr., who Mr. Blaufus Sr. was a brewer and had a passion for making beer. So Mr. Churchill offered Mr. Blaufus his warehouse where he was already storing the ingredients to make beer as a place where he could start brewing beer, and a very large brewery erected here in Napa called the California Brewing Association, and they brewed a beer called Golden Ribbon Beer, which became one of the most popular beers in the gold rush. The brewery was so successful that a second brewery opened up along Highway 29, or Route 29 at the time, and that was the Napa City Brewery. And those two breweries supplied Northern California with much of the beer that it was consumed. Mr. Churchill's brewery used the river as its transportation and supplied the town of Vallejo and the shipyard of Mare Island and San Francisco with beer. And the Napa City Brewery used the Route 29 and horse trailers to supply St. Helena, Calistoga, and Santa Rosa with beer, and the silver mining going on. So Napa became the California farmland, the first and most productive, and the valley was just full of all sorts of fruits, vegetables, grains. Really filled the need for the population at the time. It wasn't until populations in Southern California and Sacramento became large that the farming moved out of Napa and spread into the Central Valley. Mr. Churchill was very proud of his accomplishments and built one of the first mansions in Napa to attract the high society folks of San Francisco to come out here to the country without diminishing any of the standards of living that they had enjoyed. Was one of the four founders in building the mansions and attracting culture to Napa. You got it. Next, I'd like you to meet Colin. He's the brewmaster here at Downtown Joe's, and he's the one that really makes this product what everyone desires.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. That's just a little bit of one of the stories that I have. I've learned from bartending and having folks tell me stories, and we kind of embellish them as times go on and hours go by, and pretty soon a story becomes a legend. And so thanks for coming out here today, and we'll tell some more stories another day for sure. Napa's, has a great future because it has a great past, and the people that have lived and been in this valley have given us the foundation to have this great future that we're experiencing now and tomorrow. The story, I guess it started when my grandfather's father emigrated to Napa in the late 1800s from Italy. Things weren't going well in Italy, and it was not a place that he wanted his future family to be, so he chose St. Helena as a place to settle. And my grandfather lived out his life here in Napa Valley, brought his wife from San Francisco here. So they got in their boats and they came across the bay, found the Napa River, and went as far north as they could. They knew there was going to be great climate for growing barley to make beer, and they went looking for it. They ended up finding a great valley, the Monticello Valley, up where I'm proud to live here and raise my family here as well.